ROI to evaluate investment centers. Zim's, a national manufacturer of lawn mowing and snow blowing equipment, segments its business according to customer type, professional and residential. The following divisional information was available for the past year. So we have net sales revenue, operating income, and average total assets for both residential and professional. Management has a 26% target rate of return for each division. Calculate each division's ROI, round all of your answers to 4 decimal places. Calculate each division's profit margin ratio, interpret your results. Calculate the asset turnover ratio, interpret the results, and use the expanded ROI formula to confirm the results from requirement 1 and what can we conclude. So we'll start with our return on investment, and we'll jump down to the Excel sheet down here, and we'll just start out by putting the formula. So to calculate ROI, we're going to say operating income divided by average total assets. And remember, if they gave us, I need to switch this so that we can read it. They gave us average total assets, but if they didn't give it to us so directly, we could find average total assets by taking the beginning assets plus the ending assets and dividing by 2. So I'll just put over here. If you don't have it, average total assets could be calculated as your beginning assets plus ending assets divided by 2, and you'd be finding that in a balance sheet, the beginning and ending assets. So now, can we calculate residential's ROI? Sure. We have operating income of $65,280 divided by average total assets of $192. And so we'll say our operating income divided by those assets for 0.34, and let's add, because they told us to go to 4 decimal places, and so we have 34%. And so for professional, we'll do the same thing. We'll just pull down operating income 164,820, average total assets of 402. Then over here we can divide those, and we have 41%. And so based off of just requirement 1, return on investment, we have 41% for the professional division and 34% for the residential. So now let's do the profit margin ratio for each division. The profit margin ratio is calculated as operating income divided by our net sales revenue. And so we'll pull the numbers down so that we can use the formula. So for residential, we have operating income. We can actually reference, so I don't have to type it again, the 65,000 that we typed above. Our net sales revenue is 550,000. For the professional, we can again reference the operating income of 164 that we typed previously. The net sales revenue is 1,090,000. So on the side, we'll do our calculations here. Operating income divided by net sales revenue. Operating income divided by net sales revenue. and it wants these rounded to 4 decimal places. So actually, for best practice, we should use the round function. So I'll click into our formula bar up here, and after the equal sign, I'll say equals round, close or open parentheses, and then our formula is there, the operating income divided by net sales revenue, comma, how many digits? We want 4 digits, close parentheses. And we'll do that same thing up here. And the reason that this is a better practice than simply hiding the number of decimals that you see is because then Excel is understanding, it's rounding this number to 0.1187000000. And so if you use that number in future calculations, it's going to understand it as being rounded to the 4th decimal. If we wouldn't have done that, so let's take that out. For future calculations, Excel is going to understand it as the 4 decimals, but then it's going to take the rest of them. So that 9091, this could go on forever. And if a problem is telling us to round to 4 decimals and to use that for future calculations, that can be really important. And so in this particular case, it's not going to matter because we're not going to use it for future calculations, but it's a good habit for you to get in and to understand, because in future classes or in future chapters, that could make a big difference in your calculations going forward. And so we'll turn these into percents. And so residential has a profit margin ratio of 11.87%, and professionals has a 15.12. So now we can come over to the asset turnover ratio, calculated as net sales revenue divided by average total assets. And so again, I'm going to just pull this information down so that we can use the Excel reference. So we have net sales revenue 550,000, and we have average total assets of 192,000. For the professional, we have net sales revenue of 1,090,000, and we have average total assets of 402. And so when we divide those, and let's use that round function. Sorry, I'm being a bad girl here. Comma, 4 digits. Let's go ahead and put the round function back into this one. Okay. And so we have 2.8646 for residential, 2.7114 for professionals. And so what does that mean? And we could say that the residential division is generating about $2.86 of sales for every dollar of average total assets invested, whereas the professional division is generating about $2.71 of sales for every dollar of average total assets invested, which is what we have here. So requirement 4 is to use the expanded ROI formula to confirm the results from requirement 1. And so To do that, we'll take the profit margin ratio. So we'll come back up here and grab that of 11.87% times the asset turnover ratio of the 2.8646, and we'll multiply those together for 34%. For the professional division, we'll grab our 15.12% times our asset turnover ratio of 2.7114, multiply these together for 41%, and so we'll compare that to up above. We had 34% and 41%, and so same thing. So our expanded formula confirms our original ROI, and from this we can say that the professional division has a higher ROI because of the higher profit margin ratio, because obviously they have a lower asset turnover ratio, but their profit margin ratio is higher enough that it's still producing a higher ROI than the residential division.